Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are about to hop into a little bit of Group D action. And wait a minute, you're not DJ Wheat. I'm Day 9, and who are you?
Hi, I'm Liquid Chef. I get to be a co-caster here, a guest caster for this little bit of time, and I'm looking forward to casting my team.
It's lovely to have you on here, Liquid Chef. Of course, I just want to briefly introduce what is going on right now. Because the venue closes by midnight, rather than try to rush all the matches, we've opened up a third stream, and Husky kindly, the superhero that he is just solo boss moding it in the back room. So 100% of matches continue to be cast. Go to redbullusa.com/LAN to tune into that third stream.
You know, it's,
right
it's almost like a Cinderella story. I mean, we get to be like the evil step, sisters, the people casting together. Husky's like all by himself in the corner. And at midnight,
At midnight, Husky turns into a pumpkin, and all the matches cast themselves. The straight address is twitch.tv/RedBullSC2. So definitely tune in there. We're about to tune into Liquid Ret versus LastShadow. This is, I think, going to be kind of an interesting match because I think everyone's talking so much about Parting and Squirtle, being the big players in the group. But LastShadow, I think, is the big unknown that Ret said that he was a little bit worried about.
Yeah, he has a Brood War history where he used to be a very good player. And although I haven't played with him much nowadays in StarCraft 2, he's over in Korea, and he's been there for like 9 months now. And that can make pretty much anyone unknown talent really quick.
And of course, LastShadow already has established his image as he came over from Korea with that cold. And interestingly, if you look at his recent achievements, that 4th place MLG Rally 2010, contrast that with his current status as the Korean server Grandmaster player, regularly training out there in the MVP B house. But I think it's kind of interesting to note that he's going to be going mech in almost all these games.
You think so?
I mean, he did say that, and I'm sort of hoping that we get the chance to see that in this series, but I mean...
He told me no mech, so this will be interesting.
Well, this is actually going to be really surprising. I almost feel like, there were some players on the forums who were, talking about his build, showing his match history and stuff, and I hear that he was even concerned that players would be looking up what styles he'd be doing and this and that. So, I mean, he might be trying to do a little metagame this. I'm honestly really hoping for some big mech play.
Yeah, mech is really cool. It's very strategic, and he's really good with mech play. So I'm looking forward to it, too.
And his opponent is, of course, going to be Liquid Ret, your teammate. And, of course, it's important that you not be biased. If you say anything nice, the forums will erupt.
Well, come on. I can be a little bit biased.
That's fine. You're allowed to be at least marginally biased. Tell us a little bit about your experience of Ret's play.
Okay. Well, Ret's ZVT is pretty amazing. He's been recently playing with the Infestor style and going into Broodlords. This map, our first map, is going to be GSL Metropolis. And that's a map that really kind of favors Zerg in this matchup, I think. So it also can be interesting for mech, but I'm expecting Ret to take that third, and he's going to get something like 20, 30 Zerglings. And we'll have to see the amount of Hellions. Like, if it's a mech, he's going to have to make some Roaches, some Banelings, or he'll lose. And that can be risky. Someone like Ret really likes just making Zerglings and cutting corners. And if LastShadow sneaks like that build in, you never know.
Yeah, and that's something I'm really sort of interested to see LastShadow open with mech on this map, Metropolis, because it's so huge that it permits you time to get up to that Raven tech, which I think is increasingly becoming one of the big concerns for Zerg in the late game.
Yeah, Ravens are one of those things, kind of like Ghosts, where, well, if you micro them improperly, they're not that good. But if you micro them perfectly, and we're getting up there now, people have had that practice, they can be a really good force to reckon with.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if LastShadow will actually be able to get up to that tech, or to that tech. I don't know why I said tech twice. Haha.
Well, if I know Ret, we're definitely going to have a long game. We're not going to have some sort of Baneling busts. And
do you think that that's a big metagame consideration for LastShadow to say, well, I know that you're not going to go for any early cheese, so I'm going to cut some corners, maybe go command center first and the like?
It is, for sure. But the beauty of Ret's play is it doesn't matter. He's going to take you to late game. That's where he's comfortable at. If you want to do some early rush, great. You can cut the corner, he says. But he doesn't do it. And I think that's a very strong style of play.
Yeah, that's, I think, increasingly been Ret's big strength, is that he knows when too much is too much. Because he used to lose those games where he had 80 drones, all the perfect defenses up. just 5 seconds after they needed to be up and would end up losing. And now that he's getting them just a little bit before, I'm definitely having a lot more confidence in his play.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. These positions that we have here with Zerg in the left corner and the Terran, LastShadow in the right corner are actually kind of the best you can hope for as a Zerg. You want to be as far away as possible. And ironically, this is actually the best positions for mech, I believe. Because you want to kind of turtle, be far away, and expand slowly towards your opponent. And this kind of lets him do that a little bit.
Well, let's introduce our 2 players now that we are in game. In the left position from Team Liquid, already have 2 players in the, or 1 player in the group stage, going for 2. It is Liquid Rhett. That clapping is so biased, Sean.
And in the right-hand corner, we have the Terran, the underdog, the unknown LastShadow.
LastShadow, I'm really interested to see his playstyle emerge because, I mean, I really think most people's interaction with him has largely been via knowing his history in Brood War or watching his stream. I mean, even for me, just hearing that he was playing again was a big surprise to me 6 months ago. I think a lot of players, even myself included, didn't even know that he was in Korea at that time. A very, very quiet player, has always been very reserved, but very articulate and intelligent when he talks about his strategies. Yeah,
he's a very interesting personality too, where you'll have him kind of go unknown or be off the radar for a while, and then every once in a while, he'll show up and do something major. I know at one point he did something like a 222-game marathon or something where he switched races for that. And then he's going to do another one, or he did another one recently as well, where he just mass games for however many hours, 48 hours straight even if he has to hit this number. And that's a high level of commitment for whenever he's available or able to do it. But I don't know if he's been able to do it recently because of being sick. So we'll have to see how his shape is, how his form is. This build right here is probably the most common and probably considered the best build if you're not getting rushed. And with Rhett, the chances of you getting rushed, pretty tiny.
Now, I think that this is a really interesting situation to be in. I mean, especially if you're Rhett, because, you know, in talking to him, Rhett very smartly said, I study all my opponents thoroughly, and I'm just going to exploit their tendencies. You know, he's saying as the Korean players are going to play too passive, he's going to exploit that. Against LastShadow, he doesn't have that edge, and already we see LastShadow doing the early expand. I mean, how comfortable have you seen Rhett respond in these sorts of spots?
Well, Rhett's a really cool character. He's taking the gas. This is a really smart move in the Terran's base. And really, Rhett under pressure, he's never under pressure. He's Rhett. It'll take someone better than LastShadow to make him panic, at least in the early game.
What about a series against MVP? I mean, I
that would make him panic a little bit, I think. I'll give you that one.
I love the ability to pry a little bit. It's like, tell me about Rhett. How does he practice? Does he ever cry when he's trying to train for games? I'm not going to be good enough. And apparently, no. He has never shed any tear.
not
even
a single one. In rage, perhaps, that his opponents aren't good enough.
So it does look like LastShadow following up with, looks like going to be a fairly standard Hellion transition.
Yep. This gas actually really limits what your opponent can do. Basically, the only thing he can do from this are Marine builds, Hellion builds. There's not going to be any sort of timing with Banshee, at least most times, because of this early gas.
Yeah.
If it is Banshee, it's going to be delayed.
I think this is really shocking to note that LastShadow has not really gleaned too much information, but I think it's pretty critical not seeing the 2 gas geysers early on. If there's some sort of 17 extractor, then you know that there's probably going to be some lings with speed, but we see LastShadow delaying that bunker a lot. Whoa, we see the double refinery at the expansion. Going to have to even transfer some workers over to be able to mine from that fully. And LastShadow doing a good job picking off everything he can in that units lost tab. We see there already is 1 unit picked off that single Overlord.
Yeah, remember when I was like, he's probably not going to go Banshee? I was probably horribly wrong. That's what these 2 gas means. And like you said, he picked off that Overlord. That was really key. Rhett really needed to see the gas of this expansion coming up because he knows he doesn't have the one in his main, and that's really going to mess with him. It's kind of a really cool mind game of LS right here.
And it looks like already we see the one Zergling trying to poke in. The second Marine at the back, trying to pick off this Overlord, will subsequently work down at that extractor. But if I'm in LastShadow's position, I'm going to be feeling pretty uncomfortable because I'm thinking, you know, I probably have some 4 refinery timing that's based off a 2 refinery opening. But now I'm going to try to hit this weird middle of the road 3 refinery timing. It seems a little bit concerning, but either way, I really like the fact that LastShadow was able to step into Banshees, but Rhett still has 4 full queens out in the front of the field.
Yeah, LastShadow is actually kind of waiting. This is really, really critical. He waited maybe 5 seconds to build the Banshee. That's more time. Really, the only thing we have to be focusing on is the time that Banshee can get to Rhett's base.
Yeah.
He needs it there as fast as possible. He needs Cloak as fast as possible.
Oh, and look at the already placing the 2 Hellions down here right off the bat. I mean, you're not going to contain anything in the bottom corner. Taking a few hits there, that's a very nice prediction by LastShadow. But Red, of course, spreading the creep like an unbelievable badass, already at 8 minutes and about a quarter of the way across the map.
Yeah, this is what he needs to do. And LastShadow is going to be kind of stuck with an interesting predicament. Well, the way he has it rallied, he's going to go to the main. The other way you can do it is just go to the third and prevent that expansion and play from there. But we're just looking like he's going to go to the main, and this is going to be really interesting. The timings are basically going to be like, can Rhett see it? Can he figure it out in time? Or is he going to need to layer up in time? And if not, how much damage will he take?
And there we see the layer is incoming. We see the double evolution chamber at the front. Rhett is very calmly, it looks like, transitioning directly into that Infestor Ling style that has become oh so popular.
Is he going to show the Banshee?
And there he is, just reveals it right away, immediately turning around to do some shots, and
Cloak's going to finish up in.
And will he even spend the Cloak? It looks like no, he will not. Is going to begin immediately target firing.
And there's that Cloak.
And there it is, starting to pick off the workers one at a time. And Rhett is forced to retreat. Where are those Hellions? Will they end up following? And it looks like LastShadow just saying, well, if you're going to have detection in the main, I will go away from the main. Parking right here where there obviously cannot be any sort of Spore Crawler.
Yeah, this is great. Look at all the kills.
A Banshee, an 8-kill Banshee, trying to approach a 15-kill Banshee, or as we call it, a beta Banshee.
A 10-kill Banshee is very good. Very good for itself. 11-kill Banshee as well.
Looks like Rhett does manage to snipe down that one single Banshee at the back.
Oh, look at the evolution chambers of Rhett here. He changed it up. He was doing a melee upgrade. Now he's doing a ranged upgrade. This is probably going to be something with roaches. I can't imagine it being Hydras. Actually, look, he's seeing the mech. That was why he switched it up. I didn't even see it. But hey, looks like you were right here. He's going mech. And we get to see it on this map, and his unique style of it should be very cool to see.
And I do note that, you know, your average player gets a ton of Thors right at the outset, knows that that's going to be the big key to dealing with huge varieties of units, obviously huge Mutalisk balls, but I mean, it's kind of cool to see LastShadow going for such tank-heavy play, delaying the Thors for a surprisingly long time in this matchup. But, you know, does Rhett tend to do switches versus mech in these positions?
Well, I said unique, but LS's play really isn't that unique. It's mech play, right? Rhett will for sure play against us a whole bunch. He knows what he's doing. This isn't like, oh god, panic, I'm doing ranged upgrade, and, you know, that sort of thing. This is pretty calm and collected. I know what to do here. If you attack me, I'll have roaches. If you defend, I'll have roaches. If you look at the units tab, 65 drones to 59 SCVs, which is about even. So Rhett isn't actually being comfortable. Like, these Banshee, these Hellions, they're actually doing really, really well from LastShadow. I'm not sure if this is the time to push.
Oh, wow, this is going to be a really dangerous push. I mean, it looks like a counter play coming up by Rhett, but it looks like Rhett has left the front of the base wide open, and I think that this counter play was perhaps a big mistake by Rhett.
Yeah, I can definitely see it being that way. LS is really using that little choke point very nicely, forcing Rhett to come back with his other roaches. But he has speed now. He's going to clean up this. And this is kind of tough. He's losing the gas units. You can have Queens, or LastShadow can have Hellions. You can lose Hellions. They're fine. They're not gas. But in this situation, losing those tanks, it's really, really painful. He might even lose a third on the way back.
Oh, if he loses this Banshee, that's going to be a real devastating blow to have lost 3 back-to-back-to-back. But no, it looks like he has managed to successfully repel. And as you said, that big counterattack is coming up. One tank sieging up on the high ground, and a nice lift at the last second. But Rhett, obviously known for his incredible counterattack plays and his incredible macro, now streaming into the top right.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if he can deny that fourth. That's kind of his goal here. Deny the fourth, kill some SCVs, and hopefully not, or trade it, you know, fair. Trade it evenly or better. He's been burrowing the roaches while you're watching kind of the flying unit thingy that shoots stuff.
That's right, the Banshee down in the bottom left did get taken down. Yet another nice pick. And then we see, oh no, the wall off incomplete at the front. LastShadow needs to finish cleaning that one hole up right away. And it looks like in the top right, We see Rhett doing a huge amount of damage as well, and a Rhett in an extremely comfortable position.
Yep, there is a Banshee and a Hellion in the main. They're kind of like lone survivors. Oh, his best friend, the Hellion, just couldn't cut it. And this will be interesting to see. That Banshee really needs to do a lot more damage than I think is humanly possible. But it's not looking good for LastShadow. He's losing his gas units again, and Rhett can keep doing roaches as long as he keeps trading them. And it is so easy for Zerg to do roaches. They're so cost effective if you can trade them. That's like the only goal Zerg ever has, trade these things.
Oh gosh, look at the number of workers killed. Both players have been pretty worker damage heavy, but of course with these roaches just picking off that top right expansion so much, I mean, there's just really not that much that he can do. And at this point, I mean, LastShadow is going to have a super uphill battle ahead of him.
Yeah, that's very good. He's going to have an uphill battle. He needs to use the hills properly, preferably from above. So.
Well, it looks like we are now being broadcast up on the main stage. So hello, everyone out in Austin, Texas, as we are currently watching game number 1 of LastShadow versus Liquid Rhett, where at this point in time, Rhett has done a series of counterattacks that have left LastShadow virtually crippled. 53 workers killed.
Not virtually, he's actually crippled.
He has literally killed 53 workers, Sean.
Wow.
And now we see the greater the Spire being produced.
Oh, the Unsiege.
Oh, the Unsiege at the key missed timing. And despite the fact that tanks are so incredibly brutal against those roaches, I mean, Rhett is happy to trade them again and again and again to continue to eliminate workers.
Yeah, definitely. Rhett's here keeping his money low, keeping the pressure on. If you look at the supplies, 146 to 72. And in a mech composition, that can be doable, but less than half isn't really where you want to be in any situation ever.
And it looks like more roaches trying to spring into the front. Completely undefended tanks. The Banshees and the tanks just picking off so many roaches, but Rhett still continues to trundle forward. There's just not that much that you can do in LastShadow's position. Even that one single tank being eliminated leaves LastShadow in such an awkward position. He's trying to recoup. He has a ton of command centers for mules, but doesn't even have that 4th base up.
He is doing what he needs to be doing, though. He's holding, he's defending. As mech, as long as you're alive and you have tanks, you can do it. You can come back because you're just going for that 200 ball. And he has these 2 Banshees. These 2 Banshees have been worth their weight in Banshees. I don't know. They've been awesome.
And of course, Banshees weigh approximately as much as gold. And we do see that 3rd base from LastShadow continuing to be under assault. Rhett continuing to teeter around 151 food. While he's losing a lot of roaches. I mean, even if you look at the units lost tab, it's fairly even up there, but it was all one single mistimed attack. Roach continuing to just slam LastShadow with roaches. And there's the good game. Rhett takes the series 1-0. So,
yeah.
I mean, very nice play by Rhett, but I think that there was just one simple key fumble. That big attack that happened 10 minutes in with the 2 Banshees and the 1 tank on creep. Very unusual kind of play from LastShadow, and Rhett just handily crushed it.
Yeah, really, if he just lost those 2 tanks that were there, it would have been okay. But then he lost the Banshee, then he lost another Banshee, then he had a hole in his wall that let the roaches come right in.
Yeah.
And you just can't make that many mistakes against a player of Rhett's caliber.
And that is sort of a true fact about the way that Rhett plays his games out again and again. He's not really trying to force the issue. He's not the player who will do a big drop in your main or try to catch you off guard. He's just waiting for you to make a mistake. A counterattack path left open, that one hole in the wall in, and of course it looked completely sealed off.
Yeah.
And then the roaches just slipped right in. And then it was just too many angles for LastShadow to deal with in that open of a space.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the second game that we're coming up to now. LastShadow chose the map Ohana Ellie. Pretty cool map. It's also another map that you can definitely do mech on.
Yeah, I'm really not surprised to see the choice of Ohana. Most importantly, if you just look at the picture, it's a tall, narrow map. And you just don't want a lot of room to run around. You want to be able to have a tank push, just walk up calmly, and just crush that in a straightforward fashion.